Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are back for another edition of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, wild card weekend in the books. Your boy did his first ever playoff game with Bowie Television. It was Commanders versus Bucks. We'll get into all of that. I'll show you a couple pictures from the game via Bowie Television. But we just got to get into the weekend. We're going to go over the games, get you set up for the power rankings heading into this week, the divisional week, and, give you the winners and who I think is going to move on, so on and so on. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. Episode 157 of 101 starts now. One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network. Episode 157 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, glad to have you all with me. We're going to get into this wild card weekend, get you set up for the divisional weekend, which will start on Saturday. Your boy is heading out on a flight tomorrow night to head to Detroit to see a certain team from Washington take on a certain team from Detroit. So if those who didn't watch playoffs for some reason last weekend don't know who's playing who, but we'll get into all that and all that fun stuff. But good weekend for a lot of teams. Not so good of a weekend for this team right here. Yeah, not happy about that. That team right here. Not good. Still young, still developing. That's all I'm going to use it for that now. This happens again next year, then we'll have some bigger conversations to have. But that's coming from the Packer enthusiasts in Dow. But let's go ahead and get into everything. Now, it's different this week because, when we do the playoffs, there's no bottom, there's no, outside looking in because at this point you're already in. There's no top 10, because of that. There's no finale. So we kind of just get into everything and go from there. So let's start off with the record last week. All right. So your boy. Oh, man, look at this. Three for three on the weekend. It didn't go well for your guy. And I was a little bit upset because I thought that I was going to have a pretty solid weekend. I was hoping to go 5-1, and those people know why I wanted the Packers to, defeat the Eagles. But I picked the Eagles because I knew better. So 3 for 3 to start off this playoff run. Hopefully that'll change this weekend coming up. But I got a couple of wild ones or at least one wild one in there. May surprise people a little bit, but there's reasoning behind it. I don't even believe it, but I have to pick it. But we'll get into that. But let's talk about last weekend's playoff games. So first, here's your results of the weekend. First game of the weekend was the Chargers versus the Texans. This game started off extremely slow. This game was boring pretty much for the first half of football. And it started off with the Chargers looking like that they had the momentum, looked like they were going to get in there, do their thing, and maybe beat the Texans and move on. But Justin Herbert had a miserable performance. Herbert just went in there and I don't want to say laid an egg, but for the most part, that's what he did. He ended up laying the egg in there. 14 for 32. He had threw 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. It was just a really rough day for him. And it showed all the way around. It was just hard to watch at certain points because I thought the Chargers came in with a little better momentum than the Texans did. But the Texans, they did exactly what they did last year in the first round. I picked against the Texans last year in the first round. I thought that, the Browns were going to go in there and do their thing. I thought that 5 seed was going to go make business happen. I thought the same thing this year. I've been wrong 2 years in a row. But it was beautifully done by the Texans. I thought that, C.J. Stroud, didn't have a super great day, but it wasn't bad by all means. 22 for 33, solid, 282 yards, solid. A touchdown in the pick, solid. Nothing too crazy. Joe Mixon does what, Joe Mixon does. 25 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Nico Collins had 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. So those key players that you needed to step up and do some good things came in and did those things, for Houston. And I really think that it put Houston in a spot to, who knows, maybe even shock their team that they have to play this week. But I don't think a lot of people believe that. All right, I just realized I had the score wrong on there. Don't y'all beat me up. That's flipsies. All right, that's flipsies. That's the Texans that won 32-12 over the Chargers. So your boy had a moment. So don't y'all be like, whoa, wait a minute, Darrell, that ain't right. It ain't right. I know it ain't. The Chargers lost that game to the Texans. The Texans moved on. In the next matchup was the 8:00 matchup on Saturday, and that was Ravens and Steelers. This was another game where I thought that it would be a tight one. Usually AFC North games are tight contests that are dogfights. At least that's what I've always seen. But in this case, it was just a little bit different. And it felt like it didn't click the way it needed to click for Pittsburgh. And they came into this playoff game losing 4 straight games. They were 10-3 at one point. They were cruising right along. Then that back half of the season happened. A lot of tough matchups that they could not pull off. And it hurt them. And it hurt them bad. So the Ravens went in there, did their thing. Derrick Henry went off. 186 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 26 carries. He was an absolute monster in this playoff game. I've said since the beginning of this playoff, if the Ravens want to go to the Super Bowl, it's not going to be because of Lamar Jackson. It's going to be because of Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson's going to do Lamar Jackson things, but Derrick Henry is going to be the catalyst if the Ravens want to go to the Super Bowl. That is my personal opinion. I really feel like he is going to be the most important piece. If he gets going, he's unstoppable almost. He's just pretty much unstoppable. And so in those cold weather games like, they're going to have this week, he's going to be critical. So shout out to Derrick Henry and the Ravens with their win, their 28-14 win. Lamar went 16 for 21, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Who I feel bad for the most in this, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, because, Pittsburgh here, they're in a situation now that if I think the fans are going to start to scream about Mike Tomlin no longer being there. That could be a very interesting situation in the offseason for Pittsburgh fans. Now, me personally, I don't think Mike Tomlin should be going anywhere. I mean, he's got a winning record. He always keeps the Steelers relevant. And I can't even tell you how many teams can say they've been relevant for at least, 17, 18 years straight. But there are fans saying, well, wait a minute, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Touche. That is true. So that's something that they've got to fix or figure out quick. So that's why the whispers of him being out of town are growing stronger. That's something that you just have to look out for. So the Ravens move on. Then we move to Sunday. Sunday 1:00 matchup. We had the Buffalo Bills take on the Denver Broncos. Denver started this game off, had a brother thinking, because I was laying in the hotel room getting ready for that 8:00 matchup with the Commanders and the Bucks. And I'm sitting there watching it. And I'm like, man, what a great start. What a great start for the Broncos. This is exactly what you want. You come on there, get the early touchdown, get the bomb, and get the energy going in Denver's favor. From that point on, it slowly but surely changed. Slowly but surely. We saw a Bills team go in there and slowly but surely pull away, and the Broncos could not do anything offensively. And by the end of that bad boy, it was 31-7. Josh Allen, 20 for 26, 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Cook, 23 carries, 120 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel had 3 receptions, 68 yards and a TD. And that's what made this Bill team so different, throughout this season. It's just the diversity on the team. Now, a lot of people were saying in the past, well, he's got to, focus solely on Stephon Diggs. Well, now he's kind of bouncing it around, and everybody's shining. The Shakurs, the Colemans, the Kincaids, everybody's kind of sharing that thing. James Cook has become the running back that they've been needing for years. They've got that now. So everything's just really clicking for Buffalo. And they're going to have a tough matchup this week. Tough, super tough. When a certain purple team come into town. I'm not talking about the Vikings. They're out. So, but that should be fun. That's going to be a fun matchup. But Buffalo doing what they did in this matchup is exactly what they needed to do to make an early statement in this playoffs. If you're a Broncos fan, plenty to smile about. You're a young football team, a lot of young talent. Nobody expected you to make the playoffs. I think I had y'all going 2-15. And I'm man enough to admit that. I got it's on episode whatever the first episode was of this season, but that week 1 power ranking, I vividly talked about how I thought that they were going to be 2-15, and it was just going to be a rebuilding year. They got to try to figure it out, but they make the playoffs. So shout out to the Denver Broncos. Shout out to my guy Nick up in heaven. I know he's smiling. I know he had a little touch of that this year. So it's just something that you have to kind of like look into and see, what the next step. They just got to get a little bit stronger in positions. They got to get, a few more veterans. We got to bring in a couple more pieces, but I think Sean Payton's got something cooking there. Next, we go to the 4:30 game on Sunday, and that was the Packers and the Eagles. This game started off wrong. The Packers went in here. First play and of the drive, Nixon fumbles the football. Now, from the replay I've seen, and maybe it's because I refused to watch the game after a certain amount of points, because when I was getting ready for the Commanders and Bucks game, they were showing it on the huge screen. So, while I'm, working, I mean, occasionally they're screaming it so you can hear everything that's happening. And then the Packers just never came to play. And that's disheartening, because the team that at points and times a lot of people thought could be a Super Bowl contender just didn't show up. Too young. They're just too young. But anyway, Nixon fumbled on that opening drive, and that right there told me, I said, this is going to be a rough one. And he starts complaining, talking about he doesn't want to be a kick returner, even though he's an all-pro at kick returner. Make that make sense? Let's not be to something that's making you, relevant in the league. But he was like, I want to be one of the best safeties and corners, or I think it's the best corners in the league. That's fine and dandy. But, you better really put some work in to make that thing happen. Besides the point. But the Packers were still in this game. I mean, they were heading into the fourth quarter, and it was 16-10, and they had opportunities and could not pull it off. Even after starting off so bad, even Jordan Love having a miserable performance, they still had a chance to win this game. Jordan 20 for 33, 212 yards, and 3 picks. No touchdowns, 3 picks. Absolutely disaster. But I want to give a shout out to 2 players. Got to give a shout out to 2 players for the Packers. There's Josh Jacobs, who was worth every bit of the money this year, 18 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. He said he came to Green Bay because he wanted to win. They've got pieces there. They're just not there yet. But the way he played on Sunday, if everybody played like that, then we're talking about the Packers moving on. We're talking about the Packers going to Detroit. And then, I unfortunately would be sending my way to LA. So that's how that would have been. But the Eagles did what they needed to do to get the win. It wasn't pretty. Saquon had 25 carries, 119 yards. He did what he needed to do. Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns on the day, 131 yards. Not pretty, but they got the job done. So in the end, they move on. In the next matchup, and this is the matchup that your boy was at, covering for the Amazing Boy Television. It was the Commanders and the Buccaneers. The only low seed, despite your boy's graphic being jacked up here, the only low seed to win on Wild Card Weekend was the Washington Commanders, beating the Buccaneers 23-20. This game was definitely a fun one. I know being in person for me was just definitely it was just a fun time to actually be able to cover my first playoff game as a member of the media. It was really, really, really fun. But once again, Jaden Daniels shows why he's special. 24 for 35, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was absolutely amazing. He led the team in rushing, which is something I feel like still has to get fixed. You can't have your quarterback leading and rushing. I think you got to find ways to get those running backs going. Terry McLaurin, 7 receptions, 89 yards, and a TD. Your boy, Diami Brown, he had 5 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He had a really good day. These guys played well. The Bucs did enough to win, but that critical fumble changed everything. I'm just going to show you some of the pictures from that day. Captains walking onto the field at the beginning of this bad boy. Jaden Daniels out there doing his thing throughout. We saw Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore going at it throughout. Bobby Wagner getting the big fumble recovery that really changed everything because the Bucs had a chance to go and take the lead and potentially put it away. But it would actually give the Commanders the opportunity to go and get the win that they needed, to get what they needed to get in position to win. And so it was just one of those games that I truly enjoyed as a member of the media, but more importantly as a fan, but more importantly as a member of the media, just an opportunity to be in that atmosphere. And I'm blessed and lucky to be able to do the same thing this weekend as the Commanders travel to take on the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed Detroit Lions in Detroit. So your boy gonna be heading out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar tomorrow. So shout out to the Commanders on that end. Now, the last matchup was the Rams and the Vikings. Never close. This game had to take place in Arizona because of the wildfires out in LA. And, hey, Matt Stafford looks poised to shock some people. 19 for 27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams had 16 carries for 76 yards. Tyler Higbee had 5 receptions for 58 yards. These are the things that we were looking forward to seeing from, maybe I thought I would see from the Rams at the beginning of the season. Hence why, other things, but we'll get into that in a minute. And they went out there and they just punched him in the mouth. And they sacked Sam Darnold 19 times, 9 times, same amount of points they had, 9 times. Sam Darnold went down, and it's a big disappointment for the Vikings because I think, a lot of people thought that maybe they could shock some people. Heck, I had them beating the Lions in that week 17 matchup or week 18 matchup to try to win the division because I just thought they were playing really good football defensively and so on and so on. But unfortunately, just wasn't ready for the big time. Just wasn't ready for the big time. So those are the scores from the weekend. Now, let me give you my power ranking heading into this weekend. So at number 8, I got the Houston Texans. Despite their win, I still think that they're still trying to figure it all out. It's going to be tough for them. They got a very tough number 1 seed this week. So but I got them at number 8, and I still think they could, maybe do some damage. At the beginning of the season, I believe I had them going into the AFC Championship game, but I haven't seen enough of it of last year's team, and with the injuries, I don't know if it'll be enough. At number 7, the Rams. Even though I have the Rams at 7, I still think the Rams can do some damage, and you gotta watch out for Matt Stafford. You just gotta. You can't just let Matt Stafford sit there and think, oh, it's just Matt Stafford. No worries. No, you can't do that. Matt Stafford is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and with the teams that are left in the playoffs, there's only 2 guys that have rings. All right. And that is Pat Mahomes and Matt Stafford. Now, we've seen Jared Goff go to the Super Bowl, so he knows what it feels like. We've seen Jalen Hurts go to the Super Bowl, so that he knows what it feels like. But there's only 2 that got the ring, and that is the Rams and the Chiefs. The only 2 franchises that win Super Bowls here in the last, 5 years? Just those 2. Just those 2. So at number 6, I got the Washington Commanders. I just feel like Washington, I have Washington 6 because they've been playing good football. They've been squeaking some wins out, some last second wins, but sometimes when you just got the momentum on your side, that's just kind of the way things go. So I got Washington at 6, but we'll see. We'll see. At number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles, yes, they beat the Packers, but it wasn't pretty. And sometimes you're going to run into some non-pretty stuff in the playoffs. They're still a way too talented team to have them too low on this list. But I don't think they're better than the guys that are in front of them on this list at all, neither. But we'll see if they can, get to the NFC Championship game. At number 4, I got the Baltimore Ravens, which still makes this tough because Lamar's having an MVP season, and he's been killing it. You got Derrick Henry, who's been killing it. The defense has played extremely well. Zay Flowers is down. I don't know if he'll be back this week or not, or this weekend or not. We'll see. But I got him at 4, and that really doesn't mean anything. But that's kind of where I just see it sitting right now. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are a team ready. In my mind, I think they're ready to make this finally get over the hump. But they've got to beat 2 really good teams in order to do that. 2 really good teams, unless the Texans shock the world. But they're going to have to be 2 really good teams to do that. Same thing with the Ravens. So we'll see if they can do that. But right now, I got them at 3. At 2, the Detroit Lions. The Lions are, in some people's eyes, the best team in football. I had them number 1 in the power rankings and after the last week of the regular season. But the Chiefs are the champs, and that's why I have them at number 1. And until somebody beat the champs, they're going to be number 1 on this power ranking. So I'm just going to be as honest with you as possible. That's just kind of where they're going to be on my power ranking until proven otherwise. But there it is. Power rankings heading into the divisional weekend. We got the Texans, the Rams, the Commanders, Eagles, Ravens, Bills, Lions, and number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, let's go into this weekend's actual games and times. So Saturday, 4:30 p.m. on CBS, you've got and I think I forgot to change the time on all the place or who's got the other game. So y'all got to beat me up. Look, your boy's tired. He's been doing a lot of running the last couple of days, so I might have messed up on some things here. So first of all, the Chiefs and the Texans matchup is actually going to be on ABC. So I'm so sorry about that. CBS does not have that game. I messed this up big time, y'all. So the Chiefs and the Texans, they are the 1 versus the 4 seed. That is the 4:00 game on Saturday. That will be on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus, not CBS. Okay, so y'all fight me later. That should be a very interesting one. Right now, I know where I'm leaning on that, but that game will happen. That game will happen on Saturday at 4:30. The 8:00 game, which is actually happening on Fox, so I did get that one right. I really messed up because I think I only got one of these right out of all of them. We got the Commanders taking on the Lions in Detroit, 8 p.m. on Fox. Should be a fun one. In Detroit, I am super excited to be able to go there, see that atmosphere, and see if the Commanders can pull off the upset. That's where I'm glad to kind of be at to see if that goes down on Saturday. Now, moving to Sunday, which I got completely wrong. The 2 seed versus the 4 seed, 3 p.m. matchup on NBC, not CBS / Peacock. So yes, yell at me later. But that matchup also could go either way. But I'm hearing snow in Philly. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I'm hearing snow around 2:00. So if it's snowing, that does give it a different element into that game. And then last but not least, and in this game is on CBS / Paramount Plus. Man, how did I get this so wrong? I am so sorry, y'all. We got the Bills taking on the Ravens. The Bills looking to get a little revenge from that regular season matchup where the Ravens beat the dog crap out of them. And then the Ravens are looking to get back to the AFC Championship game, potentially playing against the Chiefs one more time with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. So those are the matchups. Kansas City versus the Texans, not on CBS, but on ESPN. We got the the Lions and the Commanders on Fox, actually, right. We got the Eagles taking on the Rams. That one is going to be on NBC. And then, of course, the 6:30 matchup on Paramount and CBS would be the Ravens and the Bills. And my winners for the weekend, this is how I got it. I got the Ravens beating the Bills, and I hate for that for Josh Allen, but I just think the Ravens are going to pull it off. I got the Chiefs winning against the Texans. I got the Lions winning against the Commanders, which I hope that I'm wrong. And then the Rams defeating the Eagles. If the weather permits, I think that they got another run in them. And you're probably saying, Darrell, how could you go this route? How could you not pick the Eagles? Well, at the very beginning of the season, for those who do listen to this show or watch this show, I had the Chiefs and the Rams in the Super Bowl. That was my Super Bowl prediction. So out of me being right, hopefully, that's what I'm going with until either one of the teams are eliminated. So that's who I had winning those matchups, just so I can be right and I can go back and play the video of me saying that this is going to be the Super Bowl matchup. So we'll see. All right, everybody, that is it for this episode of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and, of course, airing on the amazing Bowie TV. I just want to say I hope you guys enjoy the playoffs this weekend, really get a chance to sit back and enjoy the games. I think I'm going to be able to watch at least 3 of these games. Obviously, I'm going to be at one of them. The other 2, I should hopefully be back home in time to sit back, watch those games, and see how everything unfolds. So that's kind of where we are with that. Okay. So with that being said, just enjoy some football this weekend. Your boy will be back next week, and hopefully, I'll have some pictures from that game in Detroit, and we'll have some big answers on who will be in the NFC Championship game. We'll see if your boy is going to be on the road again, or we'll see if your boy will be at the house watching the games on Championship Sunday. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching another episode of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Until next time, you guys enjoy your weekend, and I will see you all next Thursday for another edition of 1 on 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.